Well, I would say he's been the biggest influence on me in my life, just as a person, as a man, as a ball player. Now as I go into this role. So he's always somebody that, you know, that I seek wisdom from, that has always poured into me. We've always had a very close relationship since growing up. So, you know, I'm sure like many people out there, he's my dad and someone that I look up to and really admire. So, you know, he'll be someone that I always confide in and certainly seek out his advice.
He said he got very emotional when you told him that you were the manager of the Yankees. He cries a lot.
You know what? He's starting to cry in his older age now a lot. So, yeah, when I told him, laughter turned into some tears, and you know, he's, I think, pretty excited, obviously, for this opportunity.
Any advice from him that he helped you with so far?
No, you know, he and my mom will come over at Christmas time, and you know, I know he's going to want to sit me down on the couch and give some words of wisdom about things that are important to him. So, you know, I'll take in all advice and filter some of it like I do with everyone else.
Aaron, when you're looking at second and third, would you be comfortable with two kids that are very, very
Well, I mean, that's something that obviously we're still working on here, is addressing different issues that we still have on our roster. I'm very comfortable with who we have in our system and the depth that we've built up in the system, and guys that are frankly either knocking on the door or ready to play major roles from the start. We'll just have to kind of see how the next couple months play out. You know, there's still time between now and then, but if I'm certainly comfortable with the talent level that's about ready to go. Whether we give them some time kind of depends on what moves we do make or don't make here and in the coming months.
What do you know about being the Brewers right now?
Just really excited to be around. I think what's exciting about our team is obviously just the young talent that's there, the passion that these guys play with. But as I've talked a lot about, these are real high character guys you want to be around, guys that are going to impact our clubhouse in a positive way. And, you know, all accounts on Glaber are that he is that guy also. So, you know, whether he is impacting our club from Jump Street, again, remains to be seen. But I'm really excited about his long-term future with us. You know, he's another in the long line of, we think, special players for us at some point.
Have you had a chance to talk to him yet?
I have not. I texted. He went back. I think he went back to the DR yesterday. Venezuela yesterday, and I've texted with him today, but I have not heard from him yet. I think he'll be back early next month down in Tampa, so hope to see him down there.
What was it about Cashman? He had to hire you, but you also had to feel a comfort level there.
Yeah.
What was it about Brian and the way he described the team going forward that you felt so comfortable?
I think one of the things that I think most of you guys appreciate about Brian is the same for me, and that's how direct he is, how honest he is. You know, obviously his reputation and his track record in the game, I think, speaks for itself, his ability, the longevity he's had. And I think what's really stood out to me through this process, and something that's exciting to me is, you know, for being the New York Yankees, this is a very cohesive, stable situation. You know, there's a lot of continuity within our front office right now, and I've gotten an inside look at it now these last few days, and certainly being here, you know, in our meetings, just how, you know, efficient I feel like things are run, and kind of the loyalty that exists across the board in our room.
Aaron, are you looking forward to the Red Sox rivalry again? And I think the same way reaction might be to you when you first set foot on the Yankee uniform again?
Yeah, of course I'm looking forward to it. You know, obviously it's a team, it's an organization that we have a lot of respect for. You know, obviously they're going to have another great team this year. I know Alex really well now, so us getting this opportunity is something I think we're both looking forward to. But yeah, I mean, that when you can play impactful games, and hopefully we are playing impactful games against them late in the season, that's always something you look forward to be able to play on on these kind of stages is why you do it.
Sanchez will be in New York.
I can't hear you.
Sanchez will be in New York. You staying around? You gonna talk to him?
Yeah, he should be in New York this weekend, and you know, we've been texting back and forth. And my hope is to get together with him very casually at some point this weekend. And again, you know, I've talked to you guys a lot about relationships, and obviously my relationship with Gary is something that I put a real high value on.
What do you most want to impress upon him while you're trying to build that relationship?
Right now, just getting to know each other. You know, look, catcher in Major League Baseball, it's a demanding position. It's such an important position, and it's a chance to impact like no other position on the field with things that don't necessarily show up in the stat column. Obviously, he's a tremendous talent. He's already had massive success as a young player. So just building that relationship, gaining that trust, and letting him know that he's going to be very well supported by me and our coaching staff. And, you know, that relationship has already hopefully started.
Aaron, you inherited Mary Rothschild's obviously got a lot of experience.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to let him handle pitching? How involved are you going to be with, say, pitching changes? Is it going to be all his call? Is he going to document you? How you going to...
Well, I'll be involved. Look, with all my coaches, I don't see myself being a guy that micromanages situation. Obviously, you know, they'll report to me and let me know what's going on with each, you know, whatever things that they're coaching. But I would say Larry and I's relationship will be a strong one, will obviously be an important one, and somebody that I'll lean on heavily when it comes to, you know, making decisions about pitching changes. I mean, those in the end, those decisions are mine. But, you know, Larry is somebody that I'm going to lean on heavily, rely on heavily, and somebody that I already going into this have a ton of respect for.
Aaron, when you took the job, you didn't have Stanton. You had Castro and Headley. Are you surprised at how quickly this has all changed?
Yeah, I mean, look, anytime you wake up and not sure that we were necessarily in on Stanton and how quick, you know, it kind of came together and Brian was able to pivot when it became a reality, sure, that catches you off guard, but you also understand, you know, it's the New York Yankees, and we're going to do all we can to continue to improve the club, and so these things, when you take a step back, aren't surprising, but certainly they're exciting, and I know we're still working hard up in that room to try and tinker here and there where we can to try and improve this team, so we have a chance to play with the big boys this year.
Aaron, when you look at your outfield of Judge and Stanton, and then you have 3 or 4 other guys who are Tampa starters, how do you, as a manager, impact them so it doesn't become a big deal that who's in right field, who's at DH, who's in all that kind of stuff?
Well, I mean, that's another thing that starts with the relationship. And, you know, I think early returns are, obviously this has happened quick these last 48 hours with Giancarlo joining, but, you know, there seems to be a lot of buy-in from these guys, and that's going to be important because there is going to have to be some flexibility. And one of the things we'll try and flush out in spring training is who makes the most sense, who's maybe the most capable of moving to a different position. I think the one thing what we're talking about with these guys is, you know, whether it's Gardy, Hicksy, you know, Jacoby, and obviously Giancarlo and Aaron Judge, is these are all two-way players. These are guys that are, you know, talented on the defensive side of the ball, but I also think it'll allow us to kind of use that DH, you know, to get guys off their feet, to give kind of rest to, but to also keep these guys in the lineup on a regular basis, depending on matchups.
Aaron, how big of a necessity is it in your eyes that you guys add another starter?
Well, we're trying. We're working real hard at it. You know, I think it's something that we need to do, and we're trying to do, and hopefully at some point we'll get a guy or two in the mix. But you also look at, you know, the depth and the farm system and the guys knocking on the door. So we do feel like we're in a pretty strong position, whichever way we go. But I know we're working hard to try and add where we can.
I know on the day you were introduced on the radio, I think you said you wanted CC to come back, or you would like CC to. Have you been part of that outreach?
Well, CC's one of the guys I've reached out to early in this job, mostly because I've had a relationship with him for a long time. I played with him in Cleveland for a couple of years. He's somebody that I have so much respect for and is obviously so important to the New York Yankees franchise. So I know we're going to have conversations with him. Whether it becomes a fit or not, we'll see in the coming days.
Aaron, when you were looking from the outside, what was your impression of Todd Frazier?
Another guy that I have a little bit of a relationship. Obviously, we've kind of had a similar track in Cincinnati and then playing in New York. And I thought, not only did it bring a lot to the table, obviously, for the Yankees last year, as they were in the pennant race, just from a presence and obviously the power and the stability that he brings to third base, but also the kind of person he is. And so, I mean, I'm a big fan of who he is as a player and who he is as a person.
Aaron, have you had a chance to talk to Ellsbury or communicate with him all since the Stanton trade? See where he fits in all this?
I have not since the Stanton trade. Jacoby's another guy I know pretty well. He lives in Arizona. I live in Arizona, so I usually see him, before I came manager of the Yankees, once or twice in an off season. So these are conversations that we'll have over the coming days and weeks with everyone on our roster, and to see how different moves impact our club.
Brian was talking about how he's going to have to come to spring training because you back his job. There's a guy who makes a lot of money, is going to start his career for a long time. How difficult do you think that's going to be for the manager?
Well, I mean, obviously we have a lot of competition in our outfield. We have a lot of, frankly, great players in the outfield. So, yeah, there are going to be some tough calls. Some guys aren't going to get to play maybe as much as they maybe would want to, certainly, but that's just a reality of the situation, and because of the fact that we've made some of the moves, that's put us in a position of strength right now, especially when you look at the outfield.
Given the timing when you came in, how much of a voice or input do you think you have in a plan for second place in the summer?
Well, look, right now what's going on as far as the winter meetings, and when you talk about roster construction, I think I'm certainly part of the conversation, and I think they value my opinion now. I think that's why I'm in this chair, but certain decisions when it comes to acquisitions and different deals we might make, I think they value my opinion, but it's just that, these are decisions obviously being made by Brian, our scouting and analytics staff all getting together, but I'm a voice in that room, and hopefully one that's earning a trusted voice.
Aside from anything your dad might have imparted on you, what's the best piece of advice you've gotten since taking over the job? He gave you that.
I don't know if I can be real specific. I've talked to a number of, Jim Leland reached out to me, and we had a really good conversation. I'm not going to share everything he told me. Mostly, he's a little more colorful when he talks to you behind the scenes. I had a great meeting with Joe Torre yesterday morning for a good while, and there was a lot of great advice that he imparted on me, and I feel like those are two guys for me that, at different times in the year, I expect to reach out to them and bounce things off them and kind of look to them for some advice, especially as things come up that, I haven't dealt with yet.
Is there one nugget that either of those guys gave you, whether it's a broad philosophical thing that sort of sticks out?
Don't read the paper.
Aaron, you mentioned a couple.
Just buy it. I'll buy it.
Aaron, you mentioned a couple of the coaching decisions yesterday. Anyone on the staff?
We did add Carlos Mendoza to the staff. That got done today. He's going to be our infield coach, quality control. Expect to have him on the bench. Another guy that I'm really excited about adding to our staff. This is a guy that's impacted a lot of guys in our not only our minor league system, but guys that have now gotten to the big leagues. This is I think a rising star in our industry. I've gotten to get to know him a lot better these last couple of days. So, look, it's another guy that I think is going to really impact the Yankees in a profound way, especially when it comes to infielders this year.
Aaron, what's it like to follow Torrey and Girardi, who have the success and longevity in the city?
First of all, it's two guys that I have a ton of respect for. You know, obviously in Joe Torre, I got the chance to play for him. So, you know, I think it's one of those things that speaks to the success of this franchise, to the stability that I talked about earlier with Brian Cashman and this organization and the Steinbrenner family, the fact that, you know, for such a major club that, you know, there's been two managers in, 22, whatever years it's been, you know, I guess in a way it's big shoes to fill, but I don't look at it as necessarily following anyone. Frankly, the position we're in as a club and the positive position we are in as a club, you know, some of that has to do with, you know, how good Joe Torre was and how good Joe Girardi were at their jobs. They've allowed me to come into a situation that's really stable, and a lot of it is because of the efforts and that they've contributed to this organization.
Any more? A couple more?
Otani went to the West Coast but still stayed in the same lane, and you guys are going to face him in the first month of the season. How do you plan to prepare to face him, and what are the challenges?
Yeah, well, hopefully at that point when we do face him, you know, obviously there'll be video and you know, the prep work we'll do from an analytics standpoint, from a video standpoint, from a scouting standpoint. We'll just be like any other player, you know, as we prepare for each individual series, depending on who we're facing. We'll take all that information, and, you know, whether we're facing them on the mound or in the box, you know, it'll all be part of our game plan.
Aaron, you mentioned being a voice in the room, and I'm wondering whether, as a first-time manager and, you know, a younger guy, you're more comfortable with that notion of, you know, listening to several different sources of input, you know, analytics and the like, as opposed to maybe somebody who's been a manager for a while, or, you know, who's maybe more centered.
Yeah, I mean nowadays, you know, we try to keep our pitching balanced.
I enjoy being in the room, and I do a lot of listening when I'm in there right now because, you know, in very short order, some guys I've had a relationship with, but in a lot of cases I'm getting to know guys as well. And one thing I'm learning these last few days is there's a lot of smart people in our room. And so whereas I'm not afraid to speak up and give my opinion when asked and contribute to the conversations, I'm also doing a lot of listening right now, a lot of learning right now, and frankly, it's been something that has been a lot of fun for me to be in these conversations in these rooms. I feel like helps you grow as in your knowledge of the game.
How much have you seen the role change from when your dad was manager to what it is now?
Oh, it's changed a lot. I mean, the game's changed a lot. There's a lot of similarities. I mean, at the end of the day, you're in this seat, you're making quick decisions. I think it's important to be decisive in the decisions you're making, and it still comes down to relationships are a very important part of this game, of frankly in whatever avenue you are in life. You know, relationships play a strong role, and that's true today as it was 20 years ago, as it was 50 years ago.
I think some people wonder about balancing those relationships when you're making those decisions with the metrics, which tend to be, you know, black and white.
Right. That's my job. You know, it's to be prepared, to, you know, have all the information readily available, the ability to decipher it, and then the ability to apply it within a game, within the course of a game, within the game plan, and make a decision that's best for our club.